Nobody expected the 2026 WNBA preseason to kick off with this much fire. Most people assumed it would be a low-stakes warm-up, teams shaking off the rust, coaches testing rotations, fans just happy basketball was back. But what happened inside Barclays Center during that New York Liberty vs Indiana Fever matchup flipped the entire conversation upside down, and the footage that came out of it has been spreading like wildfire ever since. One moment. One collision. And suddenly the whole league is talking. Before we get into exactly what happened, you have to understand who these two women are, because this wasn't just some random foul between strangers. Breanna Stewart is arguably the most decorated player in WNBA history. First overall pick in the 2016 draft. Two-time MVP. Three-time champion. She won titles in Seattle in 2018 and 2020, then brought championship glory to New York in 2024, the Liberty's very first title in franchise history. She's a six-time All-Star, a three-time Olympic gold medalist, and the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 5,000 career points. She did it in just 242 games. By any measure, Stewart is the face of women's basketball in this era. Everything she does gets watched. Everything she does gets analyzed. And when you carry that kind of legacy, every single move on that court carries weight. Sophie Cunningham is a different kind of story. She's not the main character in the box score, she never has been, but she is exactly the kind of player every contender needs and most fans absolutely love. The 6'1" guard out of Missouri spent the first 6 years of her career in Phoenix, quietly building a reputation as one of the toughest, most fearless players in the league. She's not afraid of anyone. She never backs down. And when the Indiana Fever acquired her in a 14 trade back in February 2025, she immediately made her presence felt. She became Caitlin Clark's personal bodyguard on that roster. When a Connecticut Sun player poked Clark in the eye during a game, Cunningham didn't hesitate, she grabbed the opposing player and took her straight to the floor. Got ejected for it. Didn't apologize. The clip went viral overnight, and just like that, Sophie Cunningham became one of the most talked about players in the entire league. Love her or hate her, you cannot ignore her. And the WNBA, which has never been short on personalities, suddenly had a new one front and center. So when these two players ended up on the same court for a preseason game in Brooklyn, the energy was already there before tip-off. The Liberty and Fever have been building one of the more compelling rivalries in recent WNBA history. Stewart has history with this Fever squad. The Liberty beat Indiana multiple times in high-stakes moments. Caitlin Clark, who draws massive crowds wherever she plays, was suiting up for her first game since mid-July 2025 after dealing with her own injury issues. The arena was loud. The stakes felt bigger than preseason. Both teams were coming in motivated, with something to prove, and you could feel it from the opening minutes. Then came the second quarter. Indiana was trailing 38-42 when everything shifted. Stewart drove hard along the baseline, classic Breanna, aggressive and fearless, committed to finishing through contact. Cunningham, who had only recently returned from the torn MCL she suffered in August 2025, rotated on defense to challenge the shot. She was making her preseason debut after months of rehabilitation. And in that split second, both players went up for the same space near the rim. The collision that followed was hard. No other word for it. Stewart, already fully committed to the layup attempt, made forceful contact with Cunningham as they collided mid-air. The whistle blew. Play stopped. Medical staff rushed onto the court. Every person in that building held their breath. Cunningham went down hard, and given what she'd been through, a torn MCL that ended her season in 2025, the sight of her on the floor was genuinely frightening for everyone watching. For a few tense moments, nobody knew how bad it was. The crowd went quiet in that particular way crowds do when something feels serious. Her teammates gathered around her. Stewart, still processing what had just happened, stood nearby as trainers assessed the situation. Eventually, Cunningham got up and walked off the court under her own power, which brought a wave of relief. She didn't immediately return to the game, but she was moving, she was conscious, and the early indications were that she'd avoided any catastrophic setback. Then came the footage. And this is where things got complicated. Multiple angles circulated almost immediately on social media: courtside video, arena cam footage, fan clips taken from the stands. And depending on which clip you saw first, your interpretation of the whole thing could be completely different. Some angles made it look like a routine, if brutal, basketball collision, two athletes competing hard going for the same spot. Other angles raised eyebrows. The word elbow started appearing in comment sections. People started slowing down the footage, freezing frames, zooming in. The debate exploded across Twitter, Instagram, and every WNBA forum that exists. Was it a basketball play? Was it something more? The algorithms picked it up and ran with it, and within hours the clip had millions of views. The league office was watching. Rumors started swirling almost immediately that a review was underway. The speculation around a potential suspension for Stewart started making the rounds, some accounts claiming it could be as many as 5 games. That number, whether accurate or not, sent the discussion into overdrive. Because suspending Breanna Stewart, the face of the New York Liberty, one of the most marketable players in the sport, over a preseason collision would be a massive deal. The WNBA is in a pivotal moment right now. The league has never had more visibility. Caitlin Clark changed the commercial landscape of the game entirely. Viewership records have been shattered. Sponsors are pouring in. A controversy of this magnitude, involving two of the biggest names connected to the league's current boom, was guaranteed to dominate the conversation. What happened next surprised a lot of people. Stewart didn't wait. She addressed it in the post-game media session, and she came out clearly and directly. She said she wanted to apologize to Cunningham. That it was a basketball play, yes, but that didn't change the fact that Sophie got hurt in the process. She said she had a lot of respect for the way Cunningham competes, especially knowing what she'd been coming back from. It was straightforward, no hedging, no trying to minimize what happened. Just accountability and genuine concern. Cunningham's response, shared through team channels, matched that energy. She said it was part of the game, that she was good, and that she respected Stewart for reaching out. Two elite competitors, handling a volatile situation with a level of class that honestly caught a lot of people off guard given how hot the online conversation had gotten. But here's the thing, the internet doesn't slow down just because two players settle things between themselves. The debate about whether the contact was intentional kept raging. People kept posting the footage. The angle conversation never fully died. And for good reason, because the optics of that play, depending on which version you watched, genuinely looked different. The WNBA has been under increasing scrutiny over how it handles player discipline, and the Stewart-Cunningham incident gave everyone a fresh lens to examine those policies through. Some fans thought Stewart should face real consequences regardless of intent. Others said penalizing a player for a hard basketball play in a preseason game would be overreach. The argument split fan communities right down the middle. There's a bigger context sitting underneath all of this that makes the moment feel even more loaded. Stewart and the Liberty are entering 2026 with a point to prove after a genuinely disappointing 2025 season. They came into that year as defending champions, fresh off winning the franchise's first title, and instead of a victory lap, they got chaos. The roster underwent significant changes. They lost veteran point guard Courtney Vandersloot to Chicago. Jonquel Jones dealt with injuries. Stewart herself was limited to just 31 appearances due to a right knee bone bruise. The team chemistry that made them so dominant in 2024, that rhythmic, connected flow where every sequence felt inevitable, just wasn't there. Stewart even called it out publicly mid-season, telling reporters bluntly that what she was watching wasn't championship-level basketball. That's a pretty stark thing to say about your own team. And when the season ended with a first-round playoff exit against the Phoenix Mercury, a team that wasn't even considered a title contender heading into the year, the fallout was swift. Coach Sandy Brondello was fired. The Liberty's future suddenly felt uncertain in a way it hadn't in years. Cunningham's 2025 wasn't easy either. The MCL tear she suffered in August wiped out the final weeks of her debut season with Indiana, and it happened right when the Fever were building something real. Indiana made it all the way to the semifinals, pushing the Las Vegas Aces to 5 games before eventually falling. Cunningham was vocal about how much that hurt. She said getting that close to a title made the loss cut even deeper than if they hadn't made it at all. So she came into 2026 with a chip on her shoulder, healthy again and ready to pick up where things left off. The preseason start against New York was supposed to be a statement game. She scored 13 points in 14 minutes, shot efficiently from 3, and was one of the best players on the floor. Right up until that collision stopped everything cold. The fact that both of these players are coming into 2026 with unfinished business, with physical setbacks in their recent past, and with massive expectations riding on their respective franchises makes this whole incident feel like more than a preseason footnote. It's a preview of a season that already had every ingredient for compelling drama: Stewart trying to recapture championship form, Cunningham protecting her teammates in a fever squad that genuinely believes this is their year, Caitlin Clark back healthy and hungry, and a WNBA that is drawing more eyes than ever before. Every game between these two teams this season is going to carry the weight of what happened in Brooklyn. Every physical play involving Stewart or Cunningham is going to get dissected. That's just the reality of where women's basketball sits right now, in a spotlight that doesn't dim, with audiences that miss nothing. What's fascinating is how quickly the incident revealed the fault lines that already existed in the WNBA's fanbase. On one side, people who have long felt the league's stars, particularly those on big market teams, get preferential treatment when it comes to discipline. On the other side, people who think the entire conversation around intent was overblown from the start and that social media manufactured a scandal out of a hard basketball play. Neither side is entirely wrong, and neither side is entirely right. That tension, that gray area, is exactly why the footage spread as far as it did. People weren't just watching a basketball play, they were watching it through the filter of everything they already believed about the league, its politics, and its players. For Stewart specifically, the optics matter in a way that goes beyond this single incident. She is no stranger to being at the center of intense public scrutiny. She and her wife received a threatening, homophobic email during the 2024 WNBA Finals, an ugly, disturbing reminder of what high-profile athletes in the WNBA sometimes face just for existing publicly. She found it unrivaled with Nafisa Collier to give players a domestic option during the offseason and to reshape what the women's basketball calendar looks like. She's been named to the Time 100 list. She is, by every measure, one of the most consequential figures in women's sports right now. Which means when she's involved in something controversial, even something as ambiguous as this preseason collision, the stakes of the narrative are always elevated. And for the WNBA as an institution, how it handles moments like this one will help define what kind of league it becomes as it grows into its expanded visibility. The days of these incidents quietly fading away before the next news cycle are over. The audience is too large now, the coverage is too intense, and the players are too prominent. Every call the league makes on discipline, on transparency, on how it communicates with its audience, gets evaluated in real time by millions of people who care deeply about the sport. That's the double-edged sword of the moment women's basketball finds itself in. More attention means more opportunity. It also means more pressure, more accountability, and more of these situations that force everyone involved to respond with something better than a deflection. What happened in Brooklyn may have started as a basketball play. It turned into a statement about where this league is, what it means when its biggest names collide, and how quickly an entire sport can be sent into orbit by 30 seconds of footage. Stewart and Cunningham moved through it with more grace than the internet gave them credit for. They settled it between themselves before the algorithms even finished spinning up. But the conversation they sparked? That one is going to keep going. Because it was never just about an elbow near the rim. It was about everything the WNBA has become, and everything it's still trying to figure out about itself. And with a full regular season still ahead, starring both of these players on competing rosters with championship ambitions, one thing is absolutely certain: this story is nowhere close to finished.